this is Matt from drawingtutorialsonline.com. Lesson number 5 is about moving away from the features, the eye, the nose, and the lips, and getting into putting more pencil on the paper, more pencil within the hair, and more pencil with the neck. In essence, what we're going to be doing in lesson number 5 is blocking in more value, putting in more middle tone, filling in more shapes, because sometimes if we don't have these shapes of value, it's very, very hard to get proportions exact. We're going to put a little bit more value in the hair and a little bit more value in the neck. Let's get started. Okay, let's put some more tone down now. Let's refine that upper eyelid, curve it around. Don't make it straight. It's curving around a round eyeball. His eyebrow is lifted. It's not where that shadow shape is. All of these lines now are starting to become curved, and as I progress with the eye, I'm starting to eliminate the straight lines, because you have to think of the eyeball all the time and having lots of curves around that eye. Okay, so right now I think it's looking pretty good. What we need to do though is I think we need to start to power in some tone. Now, this part of the hair is the lighter part of the hair because it's where the light is hitting the model's head. And it's also thinner, this part of the hair. And you want to make sure that you look at the hair and you see all these different shapes within the hair. On the top, it gets a little dark. Towards the front of his forehead, we have these highlights in the hair. Just be aware of all the different shapes. I'm using a short little circular stroke right now on the jaw because what I'm trying to do is I want to have some of the modeling factors on that jaw. I think that's going to be really cool to show that, so the jaw doesn't look like a straight line either. Be a little bit more aggressive now. Let's continue to slowly but surely go down in value so we can start to match the value on the photograph, because I really like the value setup on that photo. There's a little bit of a vein wrapping around the Adam's apple, and that vein can't be a straight line. It has to wrap around the form, just like if you're wearing a striped shirt, the stripes wrap around your body. Little bit crisper down over there with that sternomastoid. He probably has 4 to 5% body fat on his body. If you look at the photos of him, the figure drawing photos, he is beyond thin. So when you get to the sternomastoid muscle down near the collarbones, it's very, very sharp. Lots of the muscles and the veins are really showing because he is so thin. So straight up and down pencil stroke now. We want to try to show that sternomastoid muscle as a cylinder. It is a big cylinder when it's filled with water. Good. Straight up and down. We're trying to have a little bit of the modeling factors now. Trying to get rid of some of the white paper over there. Keep continually asking yourself, where's the whitest white on the portrait? It's near the bottom of the sideburn area. It's on the bridge of the nose. And then you compare all of the other values to that lightest light. Let's add another surface plane value on this cheekbone area. Straight down with that value. We're trying to show now the surface planes of the face. Don't press down too hard and start making this area too dark. This is not a shadow area. These are just different surface planes within the light. Getting rid of the white of the paper, because not all parts of the face can be equal light. There's definitely a gradation in the skin tone. So you see what I'm doing there? I'm trying to make the chin darker than the zygomatic arch near the sideburn, but not as dark as the shadow shape. A little bit of a sharper edge over there. Wrap that pencil stroke around the cheekbone. Good. Most of the weight is on your side of your hand, not the pencil point. So it's a slow build-up. My style is, at least. And this is somewhat fast because it's a small drawing. If it was a bigger drawing, it would take even longer. And that's the concept of why I'm drawing a little bit smaller with these portraits, is because I didn't want these tutorials to drag on, and I'm trying to show you as much of this drawing as I possibly can. So that's the benefit of drawing smaller. Let's be a little bit more solid over here, not dark, just solid. Excellent. A little bit more solid over there. Wrap that line around. Be gestural with some of this. Let's knock this value down. It's not white. Okay, we can go much darker because that head is turning into the shadow. Let's see, we should go darker. Let's sharpen that pencil. With the Bristol paper, you have to press down hard to get those dark darks, no doubt. Now, you see, this is a very complicated area on the top here, and it's not perfect the way that I drew it, so I'm just trying to figure out how I'm going to handle it. It's just a lot of these little shapes. The edge is not super dark, or I should say the edge is super dark. The highlight does not go to the edge of the hair over there. Curve some of these lines around because this part of the hair is very curved. Keep squinting like you need a pair of glasses. We're being very soft. Hair is a soft object. It's not hard-edged. So you want to have all these strokes very soft. I might be going a little too dark over there, but that's okay. Doing a lot of looking. I'm trying to figure out this part of the hair. I want to make sure that I didn't screw up with anything over here in my measurements. I'm tweaking right now. See, I said I went too dark. I'm making that lighter. I'm trying to tweak the edge of the hair by adding that angle, taking some of it off. Very complicated over here. Let's add that dark shape because it's turning into the shadow. A little bit of a sharp edge over there. So when you begin to continue to match the values more and more and more and more, the likeness starts to really start to come through. Remember, matching the values is going to help you with the likeness factor. Just starting to really commit now to add in some more darker values in the hair. I'm highly aware of my pencil stroke direction, trying to match the direction that I see in the photograph. The head is an oval. It's made up of two ovals in my opinion, and the hair part of the oval is turning under, away from the light. That is why it's starting to get darker over there. And the bottom edge of the hair there is just a wonderful place to put a turning plane. That's a turning plane. Turns underneath. So when you just glance at the photo, the hair is darker than the skin. There's no doubt about it. So the more you can do that on your drawing, the more it's going to look like the model. If you keep the hair lighter, it's not going to look like this model. Yeah, my shapes are off over there, but that's okay. Let's see if we can't tweak it with the eraser. I don't know. Sometimes there's just always one part of the drawing that you don't get. And I'm cool with that. I notice a pattern in my life with everything that I do where I really strive to be a perfectionist, but I understand that there's no such thing as perfection. And whatever I do, whether it's painting a room in my house or working on something in my yard, there's always like I'll do it as best as I possibly can, but there's always one section that I leave kind of, it's a mistake or it's a little unfinished. Like I painted my daughter's room and I did a really good job, but there's still one section that I didn't touch up. Like I'm leaving it alone. I've got to touch it up. And there's another room that I painted in my house. I like the way that it came out, but there's one section that I'm like, I'll touch it up. I'll fix it after. I never get around to fixing it. So that is probably going to be that little part of the hair up top there above the eyebrow that's not perfect. And I'm going to say that I'm going to fix it, but I'm probably just going to leave it as is. There was this book that I read. I forgot the title of it, but part of it talked about people. It could have been about anxiety. It could have been about the perfectionist mentality. It could have been about not being happy. And what it mentioned in the book, and I've told the story many, many times on this website, was when Buddhist monks used to make their gardens, their Zen gardens, they would leave a part wrong or unfinished or not symmetrical, however you want to say it, just to remind them that human beings are flawed and there's no such thing as perfection. And they would leave part of the garden not perfect. And so that's something that I like to do with my drawings, just to remind myself that as much as I would like to think that I'm going to make this a perfect drawing, there is no such thing as perfect. You just have to enjoy that process, the journey of working on the drawing while you're drinking coffee or eating chocolate or watching an Interpol concert on your iPad, listening to music. That's why I like to do the voiceovers after I do the drawings. I do the voiceovers for many other reasons as well, because you can be drawing great and doing a really good job, and then somebody comes in and interrupts you, and you're like, great, I was doing such a good job and you just interrupted me with all of your noise and now I got to start over. But you really can't start over because you've already drawn it. So that's another part of the reason why I like to do voiceovers. When I first started doing these tutorials, my kids were out of the house all day when they were younger, and so I had the whole house to myself. It was a very quiet house, and I was able to draw and do voice recordings simultaneously. But my lifestyle has changed, my house has changed, it's very chaotic, and this is just a much better way for me to have control over the sound. A little bit more now with matching values on the face. In this lesson 5, we've added a lot of tone onto the drawing. It's because we first wanted to get the measurements right. Now that the measurements are somewhat correct, we're still going to tweak them. It's time to power in some tone, and that's what we're doing right now. If this was that 5-minute gesture thing that I have my students do in class with the head, you're just drawing like a maniac. I'm using a different pencil. I use my Derwent drawing pencil that I talk about in the gesture drawing course. I use newsprint for the head gestures, and you're able to shade in such a faster way with that type of pencil. It's like using a black crayon. But the Colorase is not a fast pencil at all. It's a very slow pencil, and it enables you to work on your drawings in a much more of a snail's sort of pace. Let's put a little bit more tone in that background so that head can turn into the atmosphere. Scribble in a little bit more tone over there. Very cool. That needs to be a solid shape. Now, the purpose of the background tone is to create atmosphere. It's not to distract from the portrait. Keep that in mind. You can use different pencil stroke directions as you're trying to knock values down. So in essence, what you're trying to do in certain areas is create all of these gradations going in all different sorts of ways. Just trying to analyze that shadow shape. See, I'm using a circular pencil stroke. I'm trying to make that dark halftone. It's that hard edge of the jaw. Turn-in plane right there on the Adam's apple. Just using a soft stroke here. So we're just about done with this lesson number 5. If you are short on time, I would encourage you to jump ahead now and go to lesson 12. If you have time, stick with us and it's going to be fun. Thank you so much for watching lesson number 5. I thought by sharing lessons 1 through 5, you'd get a good idea of how I start a portrait. Like I said, this portrait drawing took me about 7 to 8 hours. In the next lesson that I'm going to share with you here on YouTube, I'm going to show you the finished drawing and how I kind of complete the drawing, how I lose some edges, fade some areas off, and work on some edges and texture as well. All right, thanks again for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel, and I do appreciate you watching. Be good.